Good morning, this is Shindo. Looking at OPEC news, which of course affects the economy of the United States of America. If you haven't noticed that when OPEC increases production and the price of crude oil goes down, you have a stock market that goes down as well. I believe this surge in the stock market in the last couple of weeks has only been those who already know that the bubble's about to burst and they're trying to make a little bit more money before it happens. That's my opinion. Certainly, if OPEC does increase production, certainly it is going to affect the stock market. So I think this is significant enough news to talk about. I have discussed the relationship between the American dollar and the price of oil before. This is from Bloomberg. In OPEC poker game, Iran and Iraq call Saudi Arabia's bluff. For decades, Saudi Arabia has had its way at OPEC. All of a sudden, the positions has turned. Riyadh finds its power waning against a resurgent Iran and Iraq. As Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries ministers gather for a meeting on Wednesday, Saudi Arabia is trying to reassert its authority by hinting it's prepared to walk away from negotiations. Genuine warning or bluff, Tehran and Baghdad may be willing to take the risk. Both have seen Saudi Arabia gain market share, and neither is dependent on oil prices as Riyadh. Quote, Iran and Iraq have assumed that Saudi Arabia will cut unilaterally because it wanted higher prices and thought they could put the Saudis into a corner, unquote, said Amrata Sen, chief oil analyst at Energy Aspects Limited. Riyadh has effectively said it isn't in a corner and will not do a deal unless everyone else contributes, unquote. The consequences could be enormous. If oil prices rise, energy giants such as Exxon Mobil may soon be flush enough to revive abandoned projects, and the finance of cash-strapped nations such as Mexico and Russia will get a boost. If not, oil's recent rally is likely to come undone. Quote, if OPEC does not come up with a credible agreement to cut production on Wednesday, oil prices will end the year below $40 a barrel and be chasing down $30 a barrel early next year, unquote, said David Houghton, chief executive officer of brokers PVM Group Limited in London. Saudi Arabia is sticking to its same offer, cut production, but only if Iran freezes at current levels and Iraq also reduces output. Iran and Iraq are also holding to their own positions. The first wants to be able to recover its pre-sanctioned levels of 4 million barrels per day, and the second to freeze rather than cut. Nobody seems ready to fold on Monday. A committee charged with determining where the burden of production cuts should fall met for 10 hours, but made little progress as Saudi demanded Iran was barred from raising output any further. Both sides fought to the very last barrel. The Saudis told Tehran it needed to cap output at 3.7 million barrels a day. Tehran offered an exchange, a cap at 3.9 million. The difference, a mere 0.3% of global oil supply, could still scupper the deal. Iran's frustration was evident in an article published on Monday by the official news service. Shana Oil Minister Bajan Zanganiya said reviving the country's oil output was, quote, the national will and demand of the Iranian people. Like Libya and Nigeria, Saudi Arabia should accept Iran as a special case that is excluded from production constraint, he said. Together, Iran and Iraq pump more than 8 million barrels a day, up from about 6 million barrels per day. Late 2014, when OPEC adopted its current pump-at-will oil policy. Saudi Arabia remains the largest producer at more than 10.5 million barrels a day. Quote, the reality is that only Saudi Arabia and perhaps the UAE and Kuwait are prepared to make any cuts, and those will be modest and short-lived, said Bob McNally, founder of the consultant Rapinian Group in Washington. Quote, at best, Iran and Iraq will sign for production freezes, unquote. Perhaps with that in mind, Kayed al-Fili, the Saudi oil minister, tried over the weekend to change the OPEC narrative. Oil prices will stabilize next year, quote, and this will happen without an intervention from OPEC, unquote, he said in Dhahran, eastern Saudi Arabia, on Sunday, according to the Saudi newspaper Sharq al-Sat. For Saudi Arabia, it's an unusual position. In the past, its approach to OPEC negotiations differently. Traditionally, Saudi Arabia let another country put forward a proposal and waited to see whether others, particularly Iran and Venezuela, were ready to support it, showing its hand last. This time, however, the kingdom shows its hand early in the process, signaling the run up to the meetings of Algiers in late September that was willing to switch from 2 years of produce at will and consider output cost. For both sides, the talks go beyond oil. Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is trying to retool the Saudi economy through its modest, quote, Vision 2030 program, and low oil prices are forcing unpopular austerity measures. In Tehran, President Hassan Rouhani faces elections in May against conservatives who believe his rapprochement with the West isn't yielding enough economic benefits. Quote, the stakes are extremely high and everyone seems to be upping the ante, unquote, said Yashir Al-Ghiyani, a veteran OPEC watcher at consultants Medley Global Advisors, LLC. Quote, the thing with poker, though, is you can win even if you have a weak hand, but right now it's hard to know who is bluffing and who is holding aces, unquote. Well, I can tell you that if you are going to look at prophecy that just happens to be written in a book by John, book of Revelation, if you look at prophecy, one of the three horsemen of the apocalypse is told, he is the one that brings economic crisis, the third horseman. He is told to not touch the wine and the oil. I have been observing this for quite some time. As a Gnostic, we do believe in this book, the book of Revelation, the last book to be adopted into the canon of the Bible, and was never very popular amongst Christians up until now, in the last 200 years or so. So, oil prices going lower has been proven at the beginning of this year when the stock market was going down by hundreds of points a day, that when oil production increases and the price of crude oil goes down, so does the stock market. Now, I predict that this indeed will happen within the next few days, that the stock market will start to crash. This is inevitable. This is going to happen. Donald Trump is going to stop it. It's not going to be stopped by anyone. We are living in an illusion when it comes to our economy. And people on the inside know that. And they're doing whatever they can to try to prop it up, but it's not going to work forever. It's going to happen. And this could very well be the deciding factor, the price of oil. And as oil production increases, and they just found all kind of oil in Texas, from what I understand, a few weeks ago. Just billions and billions of gallons of oil. The price of oil is tied to the American dollar. It is intrinsically combined at this point, and there's nothing you can do about that. So as oil prices fall, the value of your dollar will fall, and so will the stock market. So if you want to look at any indicator as to where our economy is going, look at the price of oil. If you like what I do, please click like, because there's going to be plenty of people who will give me a thumbs down. If it's thumb down, people can't see this. Now, I don't run commercials on my videos, and I'm not going to. So, this is done entirely for the benefit of those who take the time to listen. And I'm not an expert on all these fields. I'm giving you my opinion. I do have some experience with economics in college. I had a degree in social science, but I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be. So, if you have an opinion that is different than mine, please feel free to comment like an adult. You come cursing at me, I just block you. I'm not going to talk to people like that. It's nonsense. I am an adult, so speak to me as such. So please, like, comment, share my videos, and subscribe to my channel if you like what I do. This is Shindo. Have a good Tuesday.
Ground control.